Felix.
What's the problem? What's the problem?
Someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Are they still there?
Yes.
The people...
No.
Were they shot?
Hey, man,
Were they shot?
Yes.
Beverly Hills, a place synonymous with wealth, glamour, and the promise of the American dream. But beneath the surface of sun-drenched streets and perfectly manicured lawns, darkness can fester in the most unexpected places. This is the story of the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Erik, whose seemingly perfect lives were shattered by a brutal double homicide that sent shockwaves through the nation. Their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, were found dead in their own home, victims of a shocking act of violence. But what seemed like an open and shut case soon spiraled into one of the most controversial trials in American history, raising a chilling question. Were these brothers cold-blooded killers, driven by greed and entitlement, or were they victims themselves, pushed to the brink by a lifetime of unimaginable abuse? Get ready to delve into a world of family secrets, psychological manipulation, and the blurred lines between victim and perpetrator. This is a case that will challenge your perceptions of justice, family, and the monstrous acts that can lurk beneath a veneer of normality. On the surface, the Menendez family seemed to epitomize the American dream. They resided in a sprawling mansion in the affluent community of Beverly Hills, enjoyed lavish vacations, and projected an image of success and familial bliss. Jose, a Cuban immigrant, had achieved the heights of success as an entertainment executive, while Kitty, a seemingly devoted mother, dedicated her life to their two sons, Lyle and Erik. But as we often see in cases like this, appearances can be deceiving. Behind the facade of wealth and privilege, a sinister and deeply disturbing reality was brewing. On the evening of August 20th, 1989, the illusion of normalcy was shattered. Jose and Kitty Menendez were found brutally murdered in their den, a scene that would later be described by seasoned investigators as one of the most gruesome they had ever encountered. The carnage was not the result of a random robbery gone wrong. It was deeply personal, intimate, and filled with a level of rage that spoke volumes about the nature of the attack. Jose, a powerful and controlling figure, was found slumped in a pool of his own blood, shot multiple times in the back of the head at close range with a 12-gauge shotgun. The sheer brutality of the attack on Jose suggested a personal vendetta, an execution-style killing that went beyond simply silencing him. Kitty, seemingly attempting to flee the carnage, was shot repeatedly in the torso and legs, her body riddled with buckshot, painting a picture of sheer terror and desperation in her final moments. The sheer number of shots fired, the pattern of the wounds, and the trail of blood throughout the house all pointed to a crime fueled by an explosive mix of rage and cold-blooded calculation. Initially, suspicion did not fall upon the sons Lyle and Erik. They were young men in their late teens and early 20s, seemingly grief-stricken, inheriting their parents' considerable wealth. In the immediate aftermath of the murders, they appeared to be going through the motions of grieving sons, attending funerals, comforting each other, and presenting a united front of shock and disbelief to the outside world. They began spending lavishly, purchasing expensive cars, indulging in extravagant trips, and even hiring a personal tennis coach. Behavior that, while raising eyebrows, was initially attributed to their newfound wealth and a desire to numb the pain of their loss. However, beneath the veneer of grief and normalcy, cracks soon began to appear in their carefully constructed facade. Both brothers were seeing a therapist, Dr. Jerome Ozil, to help them cope with the overwhelming grief of losing their parents. However, these therapy sessions would soon become the catalyst for a shocking turn of events that would forever alter the course of the investigation and send shockwaves through the legal system. In a stunning development, Lyle, during a session with Dr. Ozil, confessed to the murders. He detailed the events of that fateful night, revealing chilling details that only the perpetrators could have known. Unbeknownst to Lyle, and in a breach of doctor-patient confidentiality that would later become a point of legal contention, Dr. Ozil's mistress was secretly recording these therapy sessions. These tapes, containing Lyle's chilling confession and later ruled admissible in court, became a crucial piece of evidence for the prosecution, blowing the lid off the brothers' carefully constructed facade of innocence and thrusting them into the center of the investigation as the prime suspects. The trial, which began in 1993, quickly became a media sensation, captivating the nation and sparking heated debates about family dynamics, the psychology of abuse, and the limits of self-defense. The courtroom became a battleground of legal titans, with the prosecution and defense teams presenting diametrically opposed narratives, each seeking to control the narrative and sway the jury to their side. The prosecution, led by the formidable Pamela Bozanic, presented a compelling case built on a foundation of forensic evidence, witness testimony, and the brothers' own incriminating statements. They argued that the murders were premeditated, driven by a toxic combination of greed, entitlement, and a desire to inherit their parents' substantial fortune and escape the restrictions of their control. They meticulously laid out a timeline of events, pointing to the brothers' purchase of shotguns weeks before the murders, their disposal of the weapons and bloody clothing, and their calm, collected demeanor in the aftermath of the killings as evidence of their guilt. The defense, led by the renowned defense attorney Leslie Abramson, known for her fierce advocacy and unconventional tactics, presented a radically different narrative, one that painted Lyle and Erik not as cold-blooded killers, but as victims themselves, driven to a desperate act after years of enduring horrific abuse. They argued that Lyle and Erik had lived in a constant state of fear, trapped in a cycle of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse perpetrated by their father, Jose, and enabled through silence and denial by their mother, Kitty. The defense called upon a series of expert witnesses, psychiatrists, psychologists, and therapists who specialized in child development, trauma, and the long-term effects of abuse. They testified about the concept of battered child syndrome, a recognized psychological condition in which children who have suffered prolonged abuse come to perceive violence as the only solution to their situation. They argued that Lyle and Erik, having endured years of horrific abuse, had reached a breaking point, believing that their lives were in imminent danger and that killing their parents was their only means of survival. The jury, tasked with the unenviable responsibility of determining the fate of Lyle and Erik Menendez, found themselves grappling with two conflicting narratives, each compelling in its own right. They were forced to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of abuse, the limits of self-defense, and the gray areas of human psychology. After two mistrials, unable to reach a unanimous verdict, a new trial was ordered. This time, the judge ruled that the jury could not consider lesser charges like manslaughter, forcing them to choose between first-degree murder, which carried a potential death sentence, and acquittal. In 1996, after a second emotionally charged trial, the jury reached a verdict. Both Lyle and Erik Menendez were found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict, while bringing a sense of closure to the years-long legal battle, did little to quell the debate surrounding the case. The Menendez case remains one of the most debated and analyzed cases in legal history. It ignited a national conversation about the often hidden epidemic of child abuse, the long-lasting psychological scars it inflicts, and the complexities of family dynamics. It challenged our understanding of justice, forcing us to confront the limits of self-defense and the gray areas where victims can become perpetrators. What do you think? Were the Menendez brothers victims of horrific abuse driven to a desperate act, or were they cunning manipulators who exploited a tragedy for personal gain, hiding behind a fabricated narrative of abuse to escape justice? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This case continues to fascinate and divide, and your perspective is a valuable part of the conversation. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more true crime deep dives. Until next time, stay curious.